Having secured that perfect interview, the one thing you need to focus on is preparation. A lot of people say to me, how much preparation should I do when I'm going for that interview? Well, I suppose my answer is, if this job is going to change your life, what impact is this job going to have on you? And that sort of illustrates to me how much effort you should make. If the impact on you in your life is that significant, then that's the amount of effort you should put in. By putting in the effort to really prepare and research and understand will give you the foundation of confidence. A lot of people say to me, James, how can I be so confident when I'm so nervous? The truth is you're nervous because you haven't got enough information to be able to use in the interview. The more information you have, the better you will feel. For me, a good interview, generally, the measure of a good interview is when 50% of the interview was you asking the questions and 50% of the interview was when the employer was asking the questions. Generally, interviews are 80% employer asking questions and only 20% the candidate. To me, generally, that's the one you didn't get. So be very conscious that to keep the interview balanced, where it's a two-way stream, you've got to be able to think of good quality questions, and those questions come from the research that you do on the organisation, but also in some cases the person you're going to be meeting. So just remember 50-50. On the day when you're there at the organisation, one of the things that I've always done is always have a look around the building when you're sitting in reception. Sometimes you'll see an organisation displaying awards, achievements, things they've done. When you walk inside the company and you walk into the office of the person interviewing you, sometimes it might be their personal office and there'll be pictures of them or their family or their children. I always generally, because as you walk in, you take your coat off, you're asked if you would like a tea or a coffee. Those kind of 30 seconds are really for me quite important, because I'm actually literally having a good look around, because I pick up on little issues, you know, the fact that they've got 2 children, or maybe there's a shot of them skiing, because what you're trying to do is to have a proper conversation, and it doesn't have to be an intense conversation. So wherever you can, bring in some humour if possible, bring in some natural questions outside of the interview to show that there's actually a lot more about you than just what's on the CV. So I think be very conscious that this is a sales meeting to me. The way I love to describe interviews is, if you imagine you're there and you're selling, and what you're selling is actually you, and therefore you've got to be able to put that across in a way that almost makes me feel she's absolutely the right person for me. So be very conscious of the fact this is a sales opportunity and you need to close that sale. One of the times in the interview that I always find really useful is that period when you're about to wrap up. So normally you're wrapping up the interview, you stand, the person interviewing you stands, and sometimes they'll walk you downstairs, they may walk down the lift with you. That's a great opportunity to show a little bit of courage. And one of the questions I love when people say to me, by the way, James, how did I do? It's great to ask the question, and before you leave the building, try and see if you can find that opportunity to get that direct feedback. Ask that question, because there's your opportunity. And if anything that you did wrong or anything that didn't quite come across well, that's the opportunity to put it right. So you want to get direct feedback. And normally you want to do it from that point when you close to when you get to the front door. So normally there's that little period of opportunity. My advice is make sure you take that opportunity. A job offer is not there yet. Remember, we've got to negotiate the package, but also they're likely to take some references. It's always useful to make sure that you contact the referees before the employer contacts them. So make sure that they're prepared and they understand who the organisation is, what the job you're applying for, because also one of the things that I've noticed is people don't really prepare their referees. The more information the referees have, the better position they are to give a good account of who you are and your background.